So the thing is, to learn Selenium, you need just not need Selenium. There are many things which you need to learn. Okay, you need to learn Java, then you need to learn the Selenium commands. The Selenium commands are made in Java, obviously. Okay. Then there are other tools like you have TestNG, you have Maven, you have Jenkins, Git, and okay, you have reporting frameworks and all. Okay, which have to be learned. All right, it's not just about learning Selenium. Okay, Selenium as a tool only gives you the commands which can help you interact with the browser. Okay, Selenium cannot give you commands which help you generate reports or make test cases. All right, fine. Selenium has got commands which will interact with the browser. Okay, the objective of this whole course is actually to help you build a framework. Okay, there are different types of frameworks like data driven, hybrid, page object model, cucumber. Okay, along with the training, we'll give you access to the videos. The videos cover all the types of frameworks, and in the training, we'll cover one type of framework because we have got some time restraints and all everything. Okay, look, the thing is, generally speaking, people come to us with the idea that fine, in next 1 or 2 months we will be able to learn Selenium, but that actually doesn't happen. You have to give it a time frame of continuous, regular practice of 3 months. Okay, if you think that just by attending these classes you will be able to learn it, and that's never going to happen. Okay, I'll be honest. Okay, it can only happen when you sit down after the class. Okay, you have to sit down and then you have to practice, because this framework, which is the ultimate goal, is the major thing, and it's not so easy as well, but it's not so complicated as well. Okay, now the thing is, what is a framework? Like sometimes people ask me that fine, you do you give any type of live project or something? This framework is a live project only. Okay, fine. Now, if I talk about a framework, okay, if I talk about tools, that how these tools they interact with each other, how these are different tools actually. Okay, right. These are different tools. These are not just some small things. Like Selenium is a tool. Okay, so what happens is that in the real world, when we automate stuff, okay, first of all, as if I talk about automation, then automation is only for regression phase of testing. It's supposed to be meant for regression, but these days people have started using it in other phases as well. Okay, but it's got its own disadvantages, right? Suppose I'm sorry guys, just let me just mute this voice. Hold on. Right. So regression testing is the phase in which automation is used because the project is stable at that time. Okay, right. But at times when the project is new, okay, when we are testing it, the project is unstable. All right, and at that point of time, using automation on it, it really doesn't make any sense. But still, people use it. Okay, and these days people have started using it in agile as well. So it's got its own disadvantage, and that is not recommended. Automation is always recommended on stable projects. Okay, on projects which are quite old, and you know that the possibility of getting defects is very less, so you can automate those projects. All right, and another thing, um, generally the perception is that you know in Selenium. Okay, the general perception is that when people come to me and they tell that They say that I want to learn Selenium or something. They just focus on Selenium. Selenium is not important. The major important thing is Java, because all these tools along with Selenium, which we are going to learn, are dependent on Java. And this is where most of the people lack. Okay, most of the people, they lack in Java, and they don't even focus on Java. That is the problem. If somebody wants to learn Selenium, he will directly go and start learning Selenium, and that's never going to give you anything, okay, until or unless you don't learn Java properly. If you learn Java properly, if you give, say, 2 weeks to Java, then it will just take you 1 week to understand Selenium commands. Okay, if you don't give time to Java, then you can keep on banging your head against Selenium. It's just not going to happen. In our pre-recorded videos, the first 7 videos are on Java, so I recommend you to please watch those. And they cover enough Java which is required for Selenium. Okay, 90% of the people coming to us are manual testers. So the videos are only meant for them. So please, if you have the access, watch the Java modules, they'll help you. Okay, right. Now, as I told you, we have to learn building a framework. Okay, in general, I'll tell you what is a framework and what we are going to do, because I want to just give you an overall picture that what we are going into and what we are going to learn before I actually start teaching you. Okay, so look, when we have automation scripts, okay, when we build automation scripts, okay, we build scripts like this. Okay, maybe this is my test case 1, this is my test case 2, test case 3, test case 4. Okay, and when we build these automation test cases, there are different conditions under which we want to run them. For example, we want to run them one after another in a serial order, that all the test cases should be running serially. Or we want to say that when we run the whole picture, the automation test cases, you have to run them parallelly. You have to run them all together, maybe on different operating systems. Or the requirement can be that you have to skip a test case. For example, after test case 1, you have to run test case 3 and then test case 4. So you have got different conditions for which the test cases have to be executed. Okay, once the test cases are executed, you would have different uh, requirements as well. That is, maybe you want to generate reports. Okay, HTML reports. All right, you would want to generate data from Excel file. You want to supply the data into these test cases from Excel or JSON, anything. Okay, or people also use properties file. Okay, then at times you would want to mail the reports in the end. Okay, the reports which are generated have to be mailed. Okay, then another requirement at times is that you want to connect this framework to Git or Jenkins. Fine. You want to connect this framework to continuous integration, Git, Jenkins, and all. You have to connect these test cases. So how do you achieve all these things? Okay, so we use a centralized controller. This centralized controller is known as a JUnit, or people use test engine, or people use BDD frameworks like Cucumber or uh, Serenity. Okay, and so what these centralized controllers they do is that they will uh, read the data from this file. They will invoke the test cases in the order in which you want. If you want to skip a test case, they will not invoke. Okay. They will help you generate reports, mail the reports as well, and give you a good connectivity with Git and Jenkins as well. Okay, fine. Moreover, if you talk about Selenium, then Selenium as a tool is only present in this green box. Okay, there are other tools which we will be using. Fine. So the basic is Java. So I'll start off with Java. Okay. I'm at least assuming that you have got Java installed. Okay. If you don't have Java installed, you can, and Eclipse installed. I guess everybody these days has these things. You can install Java. You can install JDK 8, which is supported on Selenium, right? And you can download Eclipse and install it as well. Okay, you can go to the Eclipse Foundation website. Eclipse is the editor. Fine. The official website of Selenium is seleniumhq.org, right? And Selenium automates browsers. This is the first line which is written on this website. So it's basically a testing tool which is only for web-based applications. Fine. Under the download section, you can download the Java dependencies of Selenium, which I will be talking about in some time. Okay, right. So this is my Eclipse. You start up Eclipse. Hold on, let it start. Hold on. So look, the thing is, out here, just a minute. Yeah. Out here, 4 alpha version of Selenium is also coming. Okay, there are different changes which has been done in this. Okay, but the 4 alpha version is quite, it's going to take time. This is the most stable release of Selenium so far. Okay, this 4.0.0 will have a lot of defects. Okay, so I'll just name this in June weekday 19. Okay, right. Now, now the thing is, we'll start off with Java. Okay, and we'll start off with object-oriented programming. Okay, the major thing which has to be learned in order to learn Selenium is object-oriented programming. Okay, OOPS, the concepts of OOPS like inheritance is there and uh, interfaces are there. All right, there are different things which we'll be learning. This is the official documentation of Selenium. Okay, I'm just waiting for my Eclipse to load, which is taking a little time. All right, this is the Java doc, which is the documentation of Selenium. If you look at this documentation, if you are not aware of Java, you will not be able to understand anything. Okay, right. But gradually, as we proceed with the course, okay, you will be able to understand these things. All right. So just a minute, let my Eclipse load. Yeah, close the welcome screen, and I'll create a new project. Okay. Under general, sorry, under Java, you can select a new Java project. Okay, and you can call that project as day one. Okay, now in this, um, you will be able to see a source folder and GRE system library. This GRE system library is nothing but Java which is installed on your machine. Okay, I've installed Java 1.8 or Java 8 basically. Please install Java 8. Okay, now whatever coding I'm going to do under this source folder. So let us start with object oriented programming. I'm assuming that you know the basic things, that what is the main function, public static void main and all everything. If you're not aware of that, then I would recommend you that you can watch the videos for some time. Okay, in that I've explained everything in detail. In the online classes I have a little time with me. Okay, so it becomes a little tough for me also to go into a very deep extent and rather start from the very basics. Okay, right. So out here in source folder I'll just create a new class. Class means a basic Java file. Okay, and I will call this class as machine. Okay, all right. A class is a starting bracket and an ending bracket, and in the scope of these brackets we define stuff. Okay, for example, I define a variable string name of the machine and int price of the machine. Okay, so these are the two variables, name and price. Okay, which belong to this machine. All right, and a machine class, that means every machine which I'm going to create will have a name variable and a price variable. Okay, fine. And similarly, I can define many other factors as well. I'm just taking two right now. Okay, and I'll create a new class known as, say, client.java. So I'll have the main function inside it. Okay, the file which has the main function has the capability of being executed. Okay, what is the meaning of this static and all? I will come over to it. I cannot teach you static right now. Okay, as we proceed with object oriented programming, things will be much clearer to you and you will understand all these things like static and public and all that stuff. Okay, fine. Now, out here, I am going to do something known as creating object of the machine class. If you have any questions during the training, please feel free to ask me. You can speak up or you can ping me on chat as well. Okay, right. Now, I'll do something known as creating the object of the machine class. Okay, so what I will do is that I will write over here machine m equals to new machine. So this is how you create the object. Rather, if you only write like this new machine, then also the object of the machine class is created. Okay, what is there in the object? Hold on. This is the object of machine class which gets created. Okay. In this we have got two parameters, name and price. Okay. In this object we have two parameters, name of the machine and price of the machine. Alright. And you cannot access this object. Alright. To access the object, you will have to define a object reference like M1. M1 is a object reference which is pointing towards the machine object. Okay, out here you will have m1 point towards this object. Okay, right, which has a name and a price. With m1 you can change the state of this object. Okay, object is different and object reference is different. Okay, there is a difference between object and object reference. Right, if I write over here m1 dot, you will get the options over here, name and price. Okay, can access the name of m1, that is machine is, say, um, engine v6. Okay, and m1 dot price is some price. So this, or I'll just call it simple name A. Okay, so what happens is that in the memory the name allocated to this machine is A, and the price is, this is the price. Okay, right. Similarly, you have another, you can create another object. Okay, you can write over here, say if I write machine m2 equals to null. This means m2 is not pointing anywhere. Okay, m2 is not pointing anywhere, and on the next line, okay, this means that m2 is just hanging somewhere in the memory. Okay, m2 is just hanging somewhere in the memory, and m2 is not pointing anywhere. Okay, and if I write on the next line m2 equals to new machine, then it will start pointing towards a new object of machine. Okay, it will start pointing towards this object. Okay, and this object will also have a name, and this object will also have a price. Okay, look, the thing is, it is similar to writing, for example, if I write int I equals to 0, on next line I can write I equals to 100. Right, so similarly the objects also work like this only. Okay, I'm pointing m2 to nothing, and on the next line I'm pointing m2 to a new object, and I can initialize this. I can write m2 dot name is machine b, m2 dot price is some other price. You can print as well. You can print system dot out dot println m1 dot name, m2 dot name, m1 dot, oh, sorry, price, and you can print m2 dot price as well. So when you run this, you see that you can, rather you can print in front of it only. You can put a plus sign. It is a concatenator. Okay, and with m2 dot name, and you can write, okay, system.out.println is used to print something in Java. I hope you know about this command. Okay, if I run this, it prints the name and the prices. Now, talking about system.out.println, Okay, just few things about it which will be helpful in the later course. If I write system.out.println A, then I write B, and then I write C. Okay, and if I run this code, it prints A, B, and C. All right, fine. Now, if I if I have to, what this line does? Okay, this line prints A and then brings the cursor on the next line, then prints B and then prints C. After printing C, it brings the cursor on the next line. See this? In the console, the cursor is blinking. Okay, so if I write only system.out.print this command, okay, then if I run this, see it will print B and C on the same line because system.out.print never brings the cursor on the same line, on the next line, sorry. So it will keep the cursor on the same line. So C is printed on the next character, and the cursor after that moves to the next line. So println prints and then moves the cursor to the new line. So this is a difference you have to note. It helps you in printing some good messages and all during Selenium. Okay. And another thing, few things about Eclipse before I come over to this machine and object-oriented programming. Okay, look, Eclipse is rich in features. There are lots of features, but at times it is troublesome as well because at times what people do is that by mistake they close this Project Explorer and they really don't know how to bring it back. Okay, you can bring it back from Window, Show View. You can bring it to Project Explorer back. Sometimes you end up closing console by mistake. You can bring console back by going to Windows, Show View, Console. Okay, right. So this is how you can do it. Another thing, um, if you right click on the project, you get a lot of options. We will be using these in the coming time. I'm just informing you about few things. All right. Now coming over to object-oriented programming. So we created two objects, gave M1 and M2 as references. Okay, and printed the name and the price. So there is a difference between object and object reference. Now if I write over here M1 equals to M2, what does this mean? This means that in the memory, M1 will not point towards this object now. M1 will start pointing towards M2, the same object to which M2 is pointing. So two references can also point towards the object. Okay, you can have this printed again, and when you run this, see next time when it prints B for 40,000, B 40,000 because M1 is also pointing towards the same location where M2 is pointing. Both M1 and M2 can change the state of the object. For example, if I write M1 dot price is, I give it a different price. And if I again run this, then M2 will also get the updated price from the object. If I run this, see both will print the same price, the updated one. Because M1 and M2 are pointing towards the same object. When M1 and M2 point towards the same object, they obviously get the same values from the object. Okay, fine. I hope you are understanding my point. All right. Now there is, I hope you got this right. Now in this machine class, okay, there can be functions. You can write over here public void start, and this can print starting machine and the name of the machine. So what happens is that this function becomes the part of the object. Both the objects will have the start function. Okay, both the objects will have this start function. So before I write m1 equals to m2, over here I'll just write m1 dot start and m2 dot start. So when I run this, over here m1 and m2 were pointing towards different objects. So it prints starting machine A and B. When m1 dot start function is called, it prints the name of m1, which is A at that time. And when m2 calls the start function, it prints the name of m2, which is B at that time. Pretty simple. Okay, it's not a very big or complicated thing. Okay, if I write this m1 dot start and stop over here in the end, and if I run it prints B for both of them, because both in the end they point towards the object B, the machine B. Okay, right. So technically, all these three functions and variables are part of the object. Technically, this variable is known as a non-static global variable. All right, non-static global variable. This is known as a non-static function. All right. So non-static global variable and non-static functions, they are different. Okay, fine. Now, just a minute. Out here, what do you mean by static? Why did I write non-static over here? Okay. What is the meaning of static? Everybody must have heard about static. Okay. This main function is also static in nature. Okay. But why we use static? And what is the advantage of static? Fine. Suppose there is a variable over here, say uh, boolean. I hope you understand what a boolean is, right? Or there is a variable. I'll take a simple variable, string sellable, that whether the machine is sellable. So all the machines are sellable. Okay. So whenever I create the object m1, I will write m1 dot sellable is equal to, say, yes, and then I can write m2 dot sellable is also yes. So it doesn't make sense. If I tomorrow make another object m3 or m4 or m5, I will keep this variable sellable to yes. Okay, what happens is that in the memory, this variable sellable goes, okay, inside every object, but it will have the same value. So what we do is that we make this static. When we make this static, okay, This variable, it comes out of, hold on, yeah, when we make it static, this variable, it comes out of this object. This variable no longer remains in the object. This variable comes at some common place in the memory which can be accessed by the object. Okay, it is common for the objects. Okay, it can, you see that it, as soon as I make this static, okay, I start getting a yellow sign over here, which means a warning. A yellow line means a warning. Okay, that this is static. It is not the part of the object. You should not be accessing it this way. Static stuff in a class can be directly accessed with the class name. If I write machine.sellable equals to yes, then this becomes yes for all the objects. Okay, for all the objects it becomes yes because it lies at a common location in the memory. I hope you have understood my point, right? Okay, now you can have static functions also. You can have a function like this, public static void, say any function which is common for all the machines. You can keep it over here and you can call it machine.xyz. You can call that function. Okay, anybody with any questions? Any questions? All right, now let's move forward. Let's look at the constructor, the concept of constructor. Look, in Selenium, the thing is, we have, in Selenium, we have um, different classes, and what we do is that we create the objects of those classes. The core API of Selenium is completely object oriented in nature. Okay, right. We create the objects of inbuilt classes in Selenium. So that's why I am teaching you object creation right now. All right. Now suppose we have another class. Okay. And say I will call this class as fruit. Okay. And I'll keep the variable like name of the fruit, price of the fruit. Okay. Or int price. All right. String season of the fruit. Okay, so this fruit class has got three parameters. Fine. Now, if I create the object of this fruit, okay, I'll create a new class known as fruit seller with the main function. I can create the object of this class fruit. Okay, and I can write over here fruit dot name is say apple, fruit dot price is say 100, fruit dot season is say winter. So I've created the object of fruit class and assigned it different values. If I create another object and I write f1 dot name is orange, f1 dot price is something, and f1 dot season say summer. Okay. So the thing is, I am creating different fruit objects. Okay. And every object I am initializing in 3 lines. What if there were 10 parameters in this and I had to create 50 objects? Then I would have been initializing 50 lines. Okay. We don't do like this. What we do is that we create a constructor of the fruit class. Okay. Write like this public fruit. This is known as a constructor. It's a no argument constructor. Okay, it's a blank constructor which takes in nothing. There is no return type of the constructor. Okay, inside the constructor, I'll just print system.out.println inside constructor. If I run this code, you will see that. Hold on. It prints inside constructor 2 times because 2 objects are created. Whenever an object of the class is created, constructor is called. If you create another object or another object, 4 objects, and if you run this, it will call the constructor 4 times. Okay, alright. Now we make the constructor something like this, in which, hold on, we will pass 3 parameters: string n, int price, string season. Inside this constructor, we will have 3 input parameters. Okay, for season I'll just write s. And when you create the object of the fruit class, you create it like this. You mention the fruit name over here like this. So kiwi 300 and summer. So kiwi will automatically go into n, 300 will go into p, and summer will go into s. And you can equate the global variables over here. You can write name equals to n and price equals to p and season equals to s. So the constructor will simply initialize the object in one go. So if when you create the object like this, automatically the name, price, and the season for the fruit, it gets automatically initialized. If I print over here f2 dot name and run this, it will print kiwi. I can create as many objects as I want. I can create one more object f3. Okay, and you can I'm sorry, you can give it some other fruit name. Okay, right. And print f3 dot name. And when you run this, it prints mango. So this is how it works. I hope you are able to understand this. Right. Okay. Out here, I have written string n, p, and s, and these parameters, they respectively go into these variables. And this is the good thing. Okay. The good thing is that the variables of this class, okay, the variables of this class, they get initialized to the parameters we are sending inside the class. Okay. And you don't have to write the initialization lines separately. Okay. Look, guys, at times people think that I'm not teaching you Java or Selenium in the first class or something. Look, I will teach you, but there is a proper way to go about everything. Okay, it's not that I am deliberately not teaching you or something. People at least have the perception. Okay, if you give more time to Java, less time to Selenium, that's the right thing to do actually. We write the complete Selenium code inside Eclipse like this, the way I am writing. Okay, it's built on in Java. So Java is the major thing you have to learn. It's not Selenium, and that's why I'm focusing a little bit on Java today. Okay, right. Now these three parameters n, p, and s. If I write this as name, I change the names price and season. The problem which I face is that this name and this name is same. If I write name equals to name and price equals to price and season equals to season, then I am actually trying to tell that the name, which is global variable, this one, is equal to this name. This price is actually equal to the price you are sending in. But if I run this, it prints null and null for the fruit name as well as both the fruit names. The reason is that in reality, what it does is that it does not equate the global variable name to this variable. It equates this variable to itself only because this variable has, like, it's the local variable. So what we do is that we write the command this dot. This represents the current object. Always remember, this represents the current object. That means the name of the current object, which is the global variable name, is equal to this name. This dot price means the price, the global price is equal to the price mentioned here. This dot season means the season is equal to the season mentioned here. So when you run it now, you see that? Okay. So this has also got its own relevance. This keyword has also got its own relevance. It helps you to point towards the current object. When I create the object like this, I'm calling the constructor. This will represent the current object. Okay, this dot name means the global variable name. All right, fine. So this is about object-oriented programming. Okay, And I talked about static and non-static. Okay, now the complete Selenium API is object oriented. Tomorrow I will start with the configuration of Selenium. I will teach you how you can configure Selenium and start making similar objects of the classes like inside Selenium, like the object of the fruit class which we have created. Okay, anyone with any